This story took place in ancient Korea, long time ago. This is about a bride named Cheongjong and her groom, a scholar named Torang. Cheongjong is the daughter of the fire god and the earth goddess. On the day of Cheongjong and Torang's matrimony, the groom went to the house of the bride with abundant marriage gifts and many servants. But on the moment of his entrance, he felt something hit the back of his head. Although he was able to finish the wedding ceremony, he was too sick to be able to attend the wedding reception dinner. He just lay down on his bed and didn't move at all. Many hours passed until he asked his wife to hold his hand and said, "I felt something hit the back of my head when I was entering the front gate. Since that time, I can barely maintain my consciousness." Cheongjong rushed to her parents and told them what happened, and her parents were shocked. They called the greatest shaman in town, and the shaman told that they should burn all the marriage gifts that the groom gave for the groom to get well. As the night came, the groom decided to go back to his home and told his bride that if a short-haired guy came from the hills at the afternoon of the next day, it would mean that he is already dead. As the groom left, the bride kept their honeymoon beddings untouched and prayed for her husband's safety in front of the holy water until past noon, and suddenly stopped when a short-haired guy came from the hills. After knowing her husband's death, she went to her in-laws' house and cried out loud. Her loud mourning sound reached the King of Heaven. The King of Heaven gave an order to the god living on Mount Hwangkom to find out where the crying came from. The god searched everywhere till he arrived at Gyeongsang province, where he found the bride crying. He transformed himself into a monk and asked for an offering. Cheongjong dashed out and greeted the monk. She bowed down 3 times and said, "I will contribute as many as you want. Please let me see my husband once again." And the monk said, I am just a humble monk begging for food. What you ask is beyond my ability." Cheongjong again bowed down 3 times and asked for mercy. Moved by her devotion, the monk gave a hollowed-out board with a hole on top of it to the bride and told her, "If you wish to meet him, do as follows. Draw holy water into the gourd. Go to the mountains, spread out your wedding day beddings, wear your wedding dress, and pray alone in 3 days." And the monk disappeared. She followed all the monks asked, and on the 3rd day of praying, her husband came and saying, "I am not a mortal anymore. You should not call me." And he disappeared. Once again, the devoted wife cried out and called the monk. As the monk came, "If you really wish to meet him, do as follows. Pull your hair one by one and make a very long string with 3,000 knots. Go to Komsang Temple on Mount Ane. Hold one end on the sanctuary and the other end to the sky. Punch a hole in the palm of each of your hands and put the string into the hole. 3,000 young girls will swing you up and down, and you should not scream." And the monk disappeared once again. She did as the monk said. Although her palms was bleeding heavily, she did not express the pain. As the monk promised, her husband came. As she was about to embrace her husband, Torang disappeared. And again she called out the monk. If you are eager to meet him, you must extract 5 measures of sesame oil, 5 measures of castor oil, and 5 measures of perilla oil. Dip your hands in the oil, take them out, and dry until the oil dries up. Repeat the procedure until you use up all the oil. Set your 10 fingers on fire and pray on the temple sanctuary. She followed the monk's instruction again. She did not feel any pain even though her 10 fingers were burning. She made her wish at the front of the temple sanctuary. Then the Lord of Underworld mistakenly took it as a fire in the Kumsang temple and asked the scholar Torang to extinguish the fire. The couple was able to meet once again. As Torang appeared, she attempted to hold him. However, her husband vanished again. Again, she called the monk and begged him to meet her husband again. The monk told her, "This time, you must pave the roads to Kumsang Temple on Mount Ane without any tool. You will meet him again after you pave the road from here to the top of the hill." She immediately started to pave the road with her poor fingers. She pulled the weeds, took out stones, and leveled the ground. About the time she reached the top of the hill, she fainted due to accumulated strain. After the long time passed, when she was able to regain her consciousness, she was surprised to see her surroundings. She was lying down in deep forest, alone because she didn't look elsewhere or did not feel fear at all until now. She had only one thing on her mind: to meet her husband. She decided to continue her work and started to take out stones, pull weeds, and level the ground once again. Quite a long time had passed since she started to work again. She glanced down the hill and casually saw a boy coming up the hill. He was also paving the road. As he was getting closer and closer, she was certain that the boy was the scholar Torang. She thought of herself, "I will pretend not to know him this time, and when he comes close, I will hold him tight so that he cannot run away from me." Then the husband was surprised and asked her, "Men and women are classified differently. Who are you?" Having said so, he looked closely and realized that the woman in front of him was his wife, whom he saw on the wedding day. "Perhaps the heaven was touched by your deep devotion. The Lord of the Underworld allowed me to pave the road for his heels, and told me that I could be reincarnated as a human once again if I finished the pavement by the grace of Buddha. Now, I am almost finished with paving the road and we can live together from now on," said the husband. They held their hands together and came down from the mountain towards their home. As they headed for their home, they encountered a very unstable bridge. The husband told his wife, "This is a very weak bridge. Why don't you go across first? I will follow you." Although they declined in favor of each other, the bride was the first one to cross the bridge. When the bride looked behind after crossing the bridge, black clouds and strong wind formed from the north and swept across the bridge and lifted the husband from the bridge to the water. She cried out as she fainted. The husband screamed as he waved his hands out of the water. "If you want to live with me, go back home and do as I say. Find a 3 foot 3 inches long silk string. Hang one end on the juniper tree that my fifth generation grandfather planted. Put the other end on your neck and hang yourself. We can only live together in the underworld afterlife. I had to die because of my grandfather's crime before me. He accumulated his wealth by killing innocent peasants. Finally, she learned the way of committing suicide. She cheerfully went back to her hot house and hung herself as her husband instructed. She requested at the entrance of the underworld, "I am the bride, named Cheongjong. Hurry up and allow me to meet the scholar Torang, my husband." At the moment, the lord of that place found a letter from Kumsang Temple's Buddha. The letter contained the words, "Do not assign any work to the bride Cheongjong, but let her stay in the best place. She is the most sincere person in heaven and earth combined." At that time, the scholar Torang was teaching drawing at the village school in the underworld. Cheongjong opened the door and ran inside. The husband was excited to meet his wife and to live happily ever after in the underworld. Later, they were incarnated in the living world and became worshipped as gods. Since then, the general public asks a shaman to perform Mang Mukut. The shaman dedicates 2 offering tables at both ends, right and left, for scholar Torang and bride Cheongjong. In addition, when offerings are made in the temple, Buddhist monks prepared the first offering for Buddha and the next offerings to scholar Torang and bride Cheongjong. And that's all. Thank you.